Hey everybody, just landed in Scottsdale, Arizona, came to the studio, and I've got a great episode for you today as I've got a very special guest named John Hildebrand. He owns Hildebrand Homes here. He owns 4 properties. He's co-hosting, he's managing, he's an Airbnb ambassador, he's a consultant, and he coaches with RowBuilt. Just got done wrapping up this interview. It's going to be 45 minutes of absolute pure gold. So now let's get started with Bill Faeth, Unfiltered. So, I mean, it's interesting to me because Scottsdale is an example, and, you know, we're going to talk a little bit about advocacy as we're here. You know, just had some regulation thrown down, what was it, a year and a half, 2 years ago? All the time. And to where, what is it, max 12? And what is the regulation from a capacity standpoint in Scottsdale? 6.
No matter the size of the house, technically it's 6, and then family members or... It's very blurred. It doesn't really make sense, but it's 6.
So what happens if I want to, like, we were here in 2020 and I had a sick super property in Scottsdale for a mastermind with like 16 people. We can't do that anymore?
It's not enforceable. How are they going to enforce it?
I understand completely.
Like, I'm all about regulations. I want to make fair and reasonable regulations for people that are like reasonable to like actually do. 6 people in a 9-bedroom house makes no sense.
Right.
It doesn't even remotely make any sense whatsoever. It's an old law that was built in the Scottsdale, and they're like hanging on to it. But can you advertise you have sleep 16? Totally.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
It's a weird gray. That one's like the most confusing one. That's one of the things they're trying to figure out. Like, how are they going to police it? How are they going to enforce it? How are they going to check?
Right.
Who knows?
So do you guys have an Arizona STR association?
Yeah, we have a state. So myself and I work with Rent Responsibly. Mm-hmm. We started the statewide organization. It's called Arizona for Responsible Tourism.
So why is that important?
Oh, dude.
I mean, we could talk about this for hours.
I could talk about
I started in 2011 battling Uber.
Oh, nice.
You know, Lyft and all my lives underground transportation space. So I get the advocacy part, and I see what you're doing. I see what Rent Responsibly is doing. There's not a whole lot of people. I kind of almost say in like my side, our side, because you're in both sides, right? So I'm in the owner co-host side, and then you got the whole VRMA side, and they don't really play. That's like oil and water, right?
It's true.
The legacies versus the new breed. You're kind of on both sides of that fence, which is a good thing. But advocacy is a huge part, and I see whether it's Honolulu, Philadelphia, Dallas, Scottsdale, Nashville, Hot Springs, Arkansas, it's going to sweep the entire freaking country if it's not there yet.
No question.
But people band together too late.
Damn, I love that you said that. 100% true.
I mean, a bill comes up, it's in first reading. You got like a week before second reading, and if it gets to second reading and you don't have a seat at the table, you're fucked.
Good luck. Yeah, good luck. You're fighting an uphill battle at that point. That's what made me start it. Like, I was brand new I had one STR. I moved back to Arizona. I still have my place in Malibu and LA. I moved here. I just sunk all my money into 2 properties.
Right.
And then they were trying to change the regulations. I was like, whoa, wait, Arizona's like pro-choice, pro-rights, like protect your house, small business. I'm like, what is going on here? This is weird. So I went down to the state capitol, and it was me and 3 hosts and like 1,000 anti-short-term rental people. Right. And I was like, I'm going to lose everything I just put my money into, my passion. I'm like, something's not right here. Why do we feel like drug dealers, or like we're like on the wrong side of the track? I'm like, we're vacation rental. Like, is it really this bad? Like, what's going on here?
It's because John and Bill are single-handedly, impacting affordable housing across the entire country.
Totally, dude. It's like, I'm responsible for all this. And then right there, and I knew that it's like, if somebody doesn't start speaking up, I'm going to get steamrolled. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't appreciate like politics. I don't want to get into politics. But I'm passionate about what I do. So I'm like, I could use my voice. I can get people together. What do we need to do to rally? I just need to get support and then that's when Dave from Rent Responsibly actually reached out to me, saw me at some news thing. He's like, hey, we need to start a statewide organization. You want to be a part of it? And I was like, no, I don't think I could be that. He's like, we'll help you on everything. We got Verbo, Expedia, Airbnb wants to help. I was like, oh, cool. Let's go. Yeah, let's do this. Let's get people involved.
So how did they actually play the role? They helped you like form the legal entity, give you documentation, what to do to prepare everybody. I mean, kind of.
Yeah, Rent Responsibly is the nationwide. Yep. They're just now, we were kind of like their guinea pig, to be honest. We were like their First one, they're like I said, all hands on deck. Rent Responsibly is going to come in here with all their people, help us with website, raising money, connections,
right.
what advocacy means, and basically helped us build out our company, right? Because it's technically a company, a 501c. But they helped us with all the resources and built it out statewide. So honestly, without that guidance, there's no way we could have figured it out.
How many members do you guys have?
I think we have 3,000 non-paid members and like 200 and something paid members.
Wow.
We just started doing the paid and raising money.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, dude.
I mean, 200 is a small number for an entire state, but I think people don't understand when you go in front of a council or alderman or whatever the regulatory, kind of standpoint is, having 5 people, you've got no chance. No. I mean, and I'm sure you said there were hundreds or thousands of people. You probably have hotel lobbyists that are there. You've got a lot of hospitality. You've got local homeowners. And it all starts with one pissed off homeowner in PV or Scottsdale that kind of initiates everything, right?
PV's got some rich, pissed off people. But it's so funny to me because it's like, I'm a pretty level-headed person and I can sit on both sides of the tracks pretty easy and listen. And like the anti-groups were basically bitching about the same stuff we were. Parties, trash, like bad host, ruining the industry for everybody. I'm like, wait, we're all talking about the same thing. Why can't we just sit down and have a conversation? So I was reaching out to like the opposing side and be like, can we just have coffee, talk through this?
Right.
Like
because the goals are really aligned, right?
Totally. We had it was like the same fight.
Right.
They just hated us. It was weird. I was like, okay, you hate me because of this, but we're fighting the same thing. And I think we found a lot of common ground, which helped us get like the statewide bills passed a little bit stronger, but it's always a fight.
Because I think what's interesting is that most of the hosts that are doing it legitimately are going to end up being pro-regulation if they have a seat at the table to help shape it, right? Totally. I mean, I'm sure you're pro-reg, right?
Yeah. At first I wasn't, to be honest. At first I was like, I don't want government in my business. Like, and then shout out to Goldwater Group, lawyer group out here, massive. They were kind of like, no bills at all. This is people's houses. Their right to do whatever they want. Those days are long gone. They know that too.
Right.
So might as well get ahead of the curve.
Are short-term rentals in Arizona considered still residential, or have they been classified as commercial?
It's also been a huge fight. Mm-hmm. We're fighting for residential because if it gets commercial, then it's a whole different zoning and permitting. And
state of Montana 3 weeks ago, just literally Supreme Court of the state just turned it commercial. Yeah.
Dude, that's my biggest fear.
And I'm going through
it doesn't make sense,
permitting right now, and I'm trying to get it in before it kind of sweeps from, all the way up to where I'm at in the northern part of the state.
Yeah, see, that's the part that scares me. I hear cities and towns that either will fully ban it with no side of the host at the table at all. They just ban it and they're like
Bozeman, Montana.
Really? Fully banned it.
Yeah. I mean, 2 different scenarios, right? A few years ago, you got Hot Springs, Arkansas, which has been, a hotbed for investment. And they actually did 584 permits. So they kind of grandfathered what was in the town at that point. But then you look at Bozeman, they just came in and just said nothing. They just lost, and since December of last year, 1,400 to 1,700 short-term rentals gone.
So much revenue.
It's insane.
Yeah, that's sad, man.
So I think for those of you that are watching this, listening to this, the moral of the story is don't wait for that first reading. Reach out to Dave at Rent Responsibly. Hit up John on Instagram, and just start now. I mean, you're in Phoenix, which is a big town. I mean, I thought Whitefish, Montana, small ski town, is basically almost Canada, right? We're like 30 miles from the border that it would be insulated, and it's not. There's no place that's going to be insulated from this.
No, I don't think so either. My biggest mission now is to try to get more statewide advocacy groups, because you get a lot more power.
Correct.
A lot more control. Like, man, property managers out here that have a place in Scottsdale and Phoenix and Tempe and Flagstaff with different regulations in every single city. That's impossible.
So there is state level regulation in Arizona, which would supersede the Scottsdale regulation. I think a lot of people don't understand that the municipality will be governed by the state regulation.
Yeah. And then there's guardrails. So each city can do a little bit of their own twist to it, but for the most part, they have to stay within the state. But each city is a little bit different, but it makes it so much easier and smoother for everybody.
Right. I agree 100%. Let's transition. I want to talk about you.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about, Hild Homes,
Snowboarding.
right? Yeah, we can talk about snowboarding and skiing all day long. Wish we would have got all that B-roll in the beginning. So tell me about your business, because, this is really the first time you and I have ever met.
Yeah.
I think we might have shook hands or bumped into each other at the first STR Wealth Conference, but I don't think we got
we ever met.
to chat with each other.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing online. It looks like you co-host, you do quite a few different things. Kind of just tell me about what you're doing.
Yeah, I'll give you the quick bio or whatever. John Hildebrand. Most of my stuff is based in Scottsdale, Arizona. I still have a property in Malibu because I was there for 15 years. Moved back to Arizona and went all in on short-term rentals. My biggest passion is purchasing homes, gutting them down to the 2x4s, fixing them up, and then turning them on short-term rentals. Right. So much fun. And you just have so much more control. All
for yourself? Or are you doing that like in partnerships? Or
a couple myself, a couple with family, slowly starting to get into like more partnerships. As you probably know, like when you're working with other people's money, it's like that much more pressure. It's like, I want to make sure
there's a lot of people that don't have money that think that's the easiest way to go. I agree with you 100%. Scary. I'm in right now with, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 homes. I spent $7 million in cash on somebody else's money last year, and I've never felt pressure in my life. Because I've done 37 startups, but I've never taken anybody else's money. I've done it bootstrapped all by myself. Wow. You take somebody else's money, man. Holy shit, that's a different game.
Yeah, and I did that before. I had a high-end sunglass brand. When I was in Malibu, we started this. I don't even know how it started. It was crazy. We just knew everybody, every celebrity, everybody. We were always throwing parties. So we started a sunglass brand. It was starting to take off. I raised some money. I got some money from people. 8 years later, it was just like, this is not a lifestyle I want to live anymore. This is so much work. And we cut the business. Couldn't pay everyone back. And dude, that still haunts me today, but it taught me so much that taking other people's money is like a whole different ballgame.
It's like getting married twice, 3 times, 5 times, 7 times, depending on how many investors you have.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I partner with family, which is great, super fun. I treat it like a business still. And then we do all our management in-house because I enjoy it. I love the process of learning and going through it. And then that turned into people calling me like, hey, I see what you're doing. Can you manage for me? And I took that really slowly at first, and I still do, to be honest. It's like, I enjoy it, but it's a whole different beast. I want the homeowners to be on the same page as me. I want
talking about like the co-hosting, right?
Yeah, on the co-hosting. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. On the co-hosting. To me, it's like very important. Like I hear you say that stuff all the time. It's like, if I come to them and be like, hey, we need to get a hot tub because we're not in the top 10% anymore, or 5%. It's like, we got to get to the top percent. We're wasting time. No, we don't need a hot tub, or we don't need to refurnish or design. It's like, those aren't the right people for me. So it takes me longer to find like the perfect homeowners. And right now I have like the best homeowners.
That's awesome.
I'm so happy.
It's funny that you bring that up. I took on a client 2 years ago, and it's a 6-bedroom, 5-bath beachfront property in Gulf Shores.
Oh, cool.
And they committed to do $150,000 in renovations at $50,000 a year. We did the first, and then nothing else ever happened. And it's too much of the stuff is tired and they won't upgrade. So I hate to use the word fired. I just sent them a letter and say, hey, I'm going to exercise my 30-day opt-out about 2 weeks ago, and just completely caught them off guard. But it's tough when the properties don't compete.
So hard.
I know what his equity is. Guy's got over $1 million in equity, and the problem, like, dude, you just need to sell it. I can't even break $200,000 in revenue, and I know what your mortgage payment is. It makes no sense.
Yeah. It's good that you keep it real like that. I think too many people buy these rentals from TikTok Johnny that's telling them like, all I do is sit back and make so much money on my property. I'm like, not every single property is going to make you that much money, and not every property is profitable. You really got to put in the work.
Oh no, you don't have to work. You can do you can do 20 properties at 4 hours a week, right?
Totally. Yeah. That's why I turned my phone off.
The Tim Ferriss model.
Yeah. Totally not true at all. Yeah, and that's my like.
Tell them the truth. Tell them what's a day in the life of John's business look like with these, and how many properties do you have owned and under management?
Yeah, so I currently own 4 properties right now, manage 11 altogether, or 14. So yeah, it's like, I'm definitely that guy that does not like that question. Oh, how many doors do you have? It's like, I have less doors that do better than most people's portfolio do with 50 or 60 doors.
We are kind of cut from the same cloth, I think.
I hate that question. I think it's just like.
Do you drink wine?
I don't drink at all anymore.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Well, we're out then. We can't. No, I'm just kidding.
At least you're on. I wish. You don't want me drinking with you anymore.
Okay, got it. Keep going. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, man. And so I like the challenge is like performing those properties at the highest level I can. It's so hard finding a good property. So why not hit home runs on those properties? So like, that's what I try to do. I try to find homeowners that are willing to do that with me. Sometimes I'll take on homes that I love the homeowner and the home is great, but it could be better. Right. And then I slowly work with that homeowner. Like, are you willing to do something? Yes, we are. Okay, cool. Let's go.
We spend this $9,000 on the hot tub and $1,500 to connect it. And, we put maybe another $400 or $500 for the trees to give it privacy, whatever. Totally. You're going to get a $15,000 return in the next 12 months.
And it's fun to go through that with people. And I'm like, I'm not just saying it to people. Like, I own my own real estate. I'm renting my main house right now because it was a good offer. Why not?
Right.
So I'm living it and I'm testing it on my own properties. And then I'm going to the homeowners to be like, look, I just did this on my own property. I think we should do this for yours.
Right.
So like a good example is we have a place 25 minutes outside the city. It's in Rio Verde, Scottsdale area. And it was doing good. It was booking, but I'm like, God, the revenue.
Rio Verde, that's kind of up by the Cave Creek area on the east side, right?
Yep. It's cool as hell. And you can get bigger.
Is that where
homes.
the dirt roads are?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly where it is. I know exactly where it is.
Yeah. Dirt roads and dusty and a lot of fires. But you can get good real estate. The real estate market's going to go equity-wise up the roof over there. So, like, but our property was doing good, right? And I'm like, let's figure it out. How can we expand it? Like, how could we do better? We built a pool, the hot tub, the whole thing. And then we just kind of like dissected and did simple things, spent another $60,000 on other amenities, built out the garage, got some more games, painted some walls, like nothing that crazy. And just bookings started flying in again and better revenue. So it's like, you always got to adjust. And that's what I love. That's what I like doing with Hilly Homes.
So we were talking about tech before we started recording, right? Kind of your tech stack. And I'm sure your tech stack's optimized similar to like mine is. How many hours a week on average are you spending on those 14 properties? And you know what's interesting? He doesn't know how many fucking properties he has. I'm the same way. We're like in a similar boat. Imagine if we had 200.
Oh, dude,
it's somewhere between 150 to 250. I can't keep up. I don't know. I don't want to be. I love Avery Carl, but I don't want 250 properties by any means. So how much time a week for you?
Okay, I'll backtrack a little bit for people that are just starting. I feel like my audience and the way I help people is a lot of the 1 to 5 properties.
Yeah.
So in the 1 to 5 properties when I first started, I did everything. It was only me. I did all my revenue, all my pricing. I would oversee all the cleaning. I would inspect the properties. That was a lot of hours, right? I was on my phone all the time. I knew you have to learn that process.
That's a job at that point.
Yeah, it was a job. And I was like, I didn't build this company to have a job. I built this company to have freedom. I enjoy what I do. I wanted to go snowboarding more. Yeah, I wanted to go snowboarding more. I wanted to live life, hang out with family, whatever it was. So now I built those in place. I have great partners. I have a full-time revenue guy. I have a full-time 24/7 guest communications, and pretty much runs itself at this point. I'm mostly just on Slack now with my team, and I just communicate through Slack. They communicate with the guests.
Right.
My cleaner, everything's like so dialed in at this point. It's only a few hours a week, really, at this point. Yeah.
And as a guest communicator and the rev manager guy, is that like a local guy, or are you talking about virtual assistants?
Virtual.
VAs, yeah. Gotcha.
The VAs crush it. Yeah.
There's a lot of scalability in that. There's no question.
And they're super loyal. It's like any business. You treat people well, you pay them on time, you make them feel a part of your company, and they go to bat for me a lot. So I feel.
How many days is John Hildebrand going to snowboard this season?
Dude, we've been talking about this a bunch. Last year I did not be able to snowboard enough.
Because you're back, right?
Yeah. This year, hopefully like as many times as I possibly can.
Give me a number.
Oh man.
20 days?
At least 20 days, yeah.
30?
I like to go at least 20. Yeah. I like to do, actually I'm spoiled. I don't want to go to too many resorts. I want to go very deep backcountry this year. A lot more than I did last year.
I've never done that. That's on my bucket list.
Oh, dude.
I have 2 goals this year. So I've got, I think.
It changed my life.
Probably like 40 days booked this year. And
sick.
My electrician / handyman, when I told him, Chris and I, but Chris behind the camera, we're going to Whitefish. I'm hosting a mastermind meeting there. And he's like, dude, if you're coming out early, I'm like, we're flying out the day before opening season. And so we got, what are we skiing? The 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. And everybody flies in on the 9th or 8th. He's like, I can get 2 snowmobiles and we can literally go up the backside of Whitefish Mountain and just do straight powder.
There you go.
And I'm like, that sounds freaking amazing, but I'm a little bit scared.
Totally.
I'm like, Patrick, dude, I've never been on a black. I mean, Chris has skied for 1 year. I'm a blue groomer guy. Maybe the end of the season. Let me get like 30 days in and get some more experience.
Get your legs warmed up first and go.
But that sounds so amazing. I mean, and the reason I bring this up is not because you love snowboarding. I love skiing. We were talking about that. That is part of it. But if you don't have those VAs in place, if you don't have systems in place, if you don't have technology in place, you're not snowboarding at all.
No way.
What's the longest you can walk away from your business, do you believe, without having any communication with your team and still be...
How long is this podcast going?
It's going to be about 30 minutes to an hour.
I got an hour. No,
Gotcha.
No, I'm just... that's a good question. I feel like if I plan it, I can go a solid week, no problem. Not even really stressed at this point.
Awesome.
If I wasn't planning it, an hour, 2 hours without my phone at all, and I would feel pretty comfortable. I feel totally comfortable.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm very hands-on though, so it is. I don't like to use the word control freak because I let people do their job,
right.
But it's like, it's your baby. You build it. You get involved more than I need to sometimes. But yeah. It's pretty mellow at this point. I do so many other things now, so I focus my time on.
What else do you do?
I do a lot of consulting. Besides personal stuff, like I like to work out and all that good stuff. But like I do a lot of consulting.
You just said that. I just felt myself suck in my gut a little bit on the camera.
I need to do a lot more. Hopefully,
you're an Airbnb ambassador, right?
I'm an Airbnb ambassador. Super fun.
What is that?
So 3 years ago. It's pretty cool. About 3 years ago, someone at Airbnb reached out to me because I was the last house to go on the Plus property in Arizona.
Right.
So I met so many people in Airbnb. And to me, I was like, I'm just going to do whatever I can to learn with these people. And then they started this program at that point, it was just called Ambassador. And they were like, hey, there's a lot of people that are joining the platform that are falling off because they're overwhelmed, they're confused, they don't know how to get started.
Right.
Would you want to guide these people? And at that point, it was like, no money. They didn't know where it was going. It's full beta version. I'm like, in my mind, I was like, I'm going to work with the giant and learn as much as I can. Who cares about anything else? I'll figure it out. I'll build a relationship. And it took off. It became a full program. It's been 3 years now. So basically like if somebody hasn't been a host, they never hosted on Airbnb before, they can join with my link, or they can go to the platform and say, hey, I need help.
Right. Ask
a super host. My mugshot pops up. They're like, oh, this guy looks kind of cool. Hit me. We'll be connected, and then I help them through that process. Kind of like a big brother, mentor, kind of like hold their hand and be like, okay, you're fine. We got resources for you. Everything's nowadays. I mean, the amount of help and resources is insane.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, it's crazy. But there's good and bad with that. So, but it's been super cool, and it's fun to watch these people grow. Like I know you do a ton of coaching, and it's fun. I'm sure you get the same satisfaction. It's fun to see somebody grow from like one or get their first booking, and they're like, okay, it's not as scary as I thought.
Those are the ones that I migrate towards. It kind of. I was a college golf coach when I quit playing professional golf, and in a division like Cal State Bakersfield. You grew up we're in LA, right? Yeah. So the armpit of California, and we were just a shitty Division II university. We started playing a D1 schedule, and I had like first team All-Americans, all that stuff. But the one kid that I took after college and gave him a job, and he was in my glow golf business, and I gave him a territory and made him a millionaire, was Steven Christoffel, who was the walk-on, no scholarship, the fat kid, overweight, but he was the hardest worker.
That's cool.
And I resonate with those people that have to work hard as opposed to like the star. Are you the same way?
I'm definitely not the smart dude.
Yeah, I'm not either. I'm a college dropout.
Yeah, I didn't go to college. I went to art school.
I made it like 3 months, and I dropped out of UCLA, actually.
My parents were like, well, I went to them in 9th grade. I'm like, I don't need school. This is such a waste of time.
Right.
Like at that time, I just wanted to smoke and go skateboard everywhere. I'm like,
did you grow up in SoCal?
I was in SoCal till freshman. I moved 22 times as a kid growing up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Military or?
My dad was New York Life Insurance.
Gotcha.
So he kept climbing the ladder. And it's like, we're moving. We're like, okay. So we just moved a lot. But we were born in Arizona and then moved a lot, which kind of got me into real estate, to be honest, because we were moving all the time. They would drive us around. We would start at, we started at the small house, right? And we drive around.
Progressively get
one
bigger
day
and
we're
bigger.
getting there. Yeah. And over the years, it kept getting bigger and bigger. I'm like, this is nuts. And as a kid growing up and seeing that, you're like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like if you put in the work, doesn't really matter. My dad didn't graduate college.
Right.
And he just worked. So I've always had that mindset. It's like, okay, I'm not the smartest in the room, but I'm down to work and learn and figure it out.
Right.
So, yeah.
What is John's super skill? What are you really good at?
Super skill. That's a cool one. Super creative. I've always been like just super creative. I was a photographer for a long, long time. So I've always used my camera and my visuals as like a way to meet people by not being like the smartest in the room or something. Like, oh, I can photograph your house if you let me just chat with you for 30 minutes or like, so my creative side would always get me like open the doors. I feel like that's kind of a superpower. And then,
you're using that skill in your business too.
I do now.
I can see it. I mean, your houses are beautiful.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you. Yeah. And a connector. I think like part of my strength is connecting the right people in the right spots. Like when we were doing
That's a super skill.
Advocacy group or finding people that I'm like, hey, you're not a good fit for me. You need to go talk to Bill. This is your guy you need to talk to. Like, I love that too. And
I think that's an underrated skill.
Connector.
1,000%. I mean, I'm a huge connector as well.
Sure,
and I think when you can do that, I mean, like in my community, I think we hear, Chris, more people, they don't talk about what I teach them. They talk about the access that I get for them and how they connect them with other people more than probably anything, I think, whether it's in this space or the other space. Another hot topic question for you. What's the biggest risk in our industry? I mean, what can literally clobber us and we're gone? If we were doing a SWOT analysis?
It's easy. Advocacy for sure. Regulations, 100%. I've seen it happen way too many times when people will buy something and then regulations come in and they're like, sorry, you're done.
And there's multiple levels to that.
Multiple levels, yeah.
State, local municipalities, HOA. I mean, you guys have a ton of HOAs here. Do you own in any place? Or do you only?
I refuse. No,
so everything you have is outside of the HOAs.
Yeah. I don't like people telling me what to do.
Right.
HOAs definitely tell you what to do.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
So John today owns 4 properties, manages 10. You do consulting, Airbnb ambassador, do some speaking, coaching with Rob Built, that type of stuff. What does John's portfolio or business look like 5 years from now?
I've been thinking about this quite a bit because, you go through those creative like juices, right? Where I wouldn't say you get like burnt out, but you're looking for like the next like create like thing that gets you out of bed. Sure. You don't want to sleep, right? And for me right now, like I've always been around construction and building homes. Like we built a few homes from ground up. One's an Airbnb, but I really would love to try to like do something a little bit more unique at this point. And like, I just want to buy a ton of land because I want to live on it, but I want to build some stuff on there. And I want to double my portfolio of the homes I own.
Where would that land be? Where does John want to live?
In the mountains.
Flagstaff? Or?
I would do Flagstaff. The mountains aren't good enough. I hate to say that, but it's not good enough for like snowboarding for me because I'm so spoiled. But the town in Flagstaff is so beautiful and so nice. So yeah, I would love to buy a bunch of land. The opportunity there is great. The
price is still decent up there?
It's getting a little overpriced, right? But you can find some gems.
I haven't been there for probably 25 years.
Yeah, it's a cool town. I'd buy it in Park City still, or outside of Parks. I wouldn't buy it in Park City.
Maybe Heber City or something that's a little bit more affordable.
Yeah, Oakley, something like that.
I've been looking in that whole Deer Valley, Park City area for like 2 or 3 years, and it's ridiculous.
We had a house up there for like 11 years, and we sold it right when the lockdown was happening. It was probably the best decision we've ever made.
Interesting. So we're in Scottsdale right now. You're here, you live here, you operate here, you know this market probably better than anybody around here. Is Scottsdale, Cave Creek, Rio Verde, or Mesa, Fountain Hills, it wasn't investable a couple of years ago, especially when it was, taking a downturn in the regulation and everything on the rental side. But I also saw a lot of correction in pricing too on the equity side. Is it investable today?
I think so. I think it's way more challenging, right? I think you can't do what you did back in the days and just buy a house. I barely ran any numbers. I just went with my gut.
Sure.
I just bought a house. I'm like, I'm going to outwork everybody. I'm going to make it cool.
Throw in a putting green and hot tub. And,
you know, put in a heated pool, hot tub, and call it fast Wi-Fi. It was actually a thing.
Right.
You know, you would actually market fast Wi-Fi.
Yep.
It's very...
Thank you, Jasper Rivers, for teaching us all that.
yeah, exactly. Thanks, buddy. But now but I like the competition. I think it's healthy. I think it weeds out like these I'm just going to throw my mom and dad's furniture in an Airbnb and like make the market saturated, right? I think that 100% you just got to be willing to go all in. You really do. I've seen it. My houses are up 30% this year and most people are down.
Nice.
And I'm like beyond grateful, but we put in a ton of work, you know, all the way down to the cleaners, to the styling, to that. So 100%, but you definitely got to run your numbers. You definitely got to like search a little harder to find the ones that are going to make you money. But I think it's 100% doable.
What do you think moves? I don't want to say that because I just had an event called that. What impacts your revenue and profitability the most? Is it the effort and underwriting the properties and finding them? Is it the design and amenity stacking side? Is it the revenue management? What do you see that works the best for you?
All of it, honestly. I think nowadays
you got to stack it all together.
You got to stack it all. I'm sure you see that all the time. Like, I think revenue right now is probably the biggest topic of like, when I finally hired a full-time revenue management, I saw a huge change in my portfolio because all they did is look at revenue all day long and data, and we would go back and forth, and like my revenue everything started clicking better.
It's so ego-based for the people that won't. They won't hire,
I just
right?
said this the other day.
And I'm the same way. I just a year ago gave away my first two properties to Emil Sakal, and you know now I'm literally giving him everything. And I think he's the best revenue manager in the industry. But especially like guys like me and you, we're supposed to be doing it ourselves, right? You've got a VA. I'm giving it to him. I think a lot of it for me is time commitment. I was really good when I could spend 3 to 5 hours per property a week and do it incrementally 5 days a week. But now I can't do that anymore. And I start to see things start to dip.
It's so funny you just said that because I literally just said that to somebody the other day. I was like, it's such an ego thing. It's like, I do everything.
I know how to do it. I'm good. I'm an expert.
Yeah, I'm an expert. I'm like, I don't want to sit on the computer all day running numbers.
How many things do you think you're an expert at?
Nothing.
Nothing?
No, I'm just really good at a lot of different things. I'm happy to say that. I'm really good.
You're an expert snowboarder if you're doing double black diamonds.
I'm pretty good at snowboarding. Yeah, I have fun with snowboarding.
But in the business, what would you consider your genius on? What are you best at?
I think just like being real with people. I try to like, I don't front anything all the way down to my customers. I keep it pretty like straight up with people. It's like, I tell you what I like, I tell you what I don't like. And it trickles down all the way through the guests to, you know, the revenue teams, like everybody. It's just like, I'm not like trying to squeeze every single dollar out of somebody. So I would think like just being honest is probably, it gets me in trouble sometimes, I'm not going to lie, but just being honest and truthful, and my word is probably my superpower or whatever.
That's awesome. I don't know that you could have a better one than that. Honestly, what's your biggest weakness? Sometimes
communication. For sure. Communication is tough, man, because you take things personal, especially in your own projects and stuff. Like if a guest isn't happy, you're like, you almost blame them sometimes. And then you read through it and you're like, actually, they're right. I probably should have fixed that or whatever. Communication is not my strong point.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I believe if a guest has an issue, or if the cleaner does a bad clean, or the handyman screws up, it's your fault.
Totally.
It's my fault.
Yep.
And I think too many people blame it on somebody else. And if they would just understand to where even if you don't believe it's your fault, if you would own it and pick up the phone, don't message, pick up the phone and call that guest. Yeah. Hey, John, this is Bill. Sorry, the tidy whities were hanging on, the master had this happen, hanging on the hook behind the master bathroom door at Easy Breezy. That's 100% my fault.
Yeah.
And I let you down and I apologize. I'm going to get a cleaner over there ASAP to clean it up. And I'll never forget. I can't remember the guy's name. And he's like, I really, really appreciate you doing that.
That's cool.
And I'm like, hey, it's nothing. He's like, no, I know you weren't the one cleaning this house. And I appreciate you owning that.
Yeah.
And I said, look, I'm the owner. Everything stops with me. And I think people don't do that enough. They try to hide behind and blame. They think the guest will understand better if they blame it on a lower level employee, like a cleaner or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not, better than anybody. The guests have changed quite a bit, but whose fault is that? It's a little bit of everyone's fault, a little bit of the host's fault. The guests are assuming everything, this and that. It's like, it's crazy that the communication will help you keep your 5-star or what, things happen. We're humans.
Agreed.
And keeping the human part, the AI stuff is great, but having the human, like you said, pick up a phone. People are like, okay, John didn't mean to leave the whitey tighties on the bed.
Right.
It's like he did it on purpose. He's a human. He called me 5-star still. All good. They came, they cleaned it up. Things happen.
I agree.
Yeah.
1,000%. So you and I think both have a passion to help kind of the newer operators and newer investors that are getting into this. I'm going to wrap up and I'm going to let you take us out. What's your number one piece of advice for somebody that's new or just trying to go from 1 to 2 or 3 properties? What do they miss? What do you think they could do better?
I would say now find your tribe. I think it's important. There's a million coaching calls. There's a million people telling you what to do on social and stuff. I think you just got to find your clique. Everyone has a different message. Everyone has a different strategy, their way they're doing things. But don't be afraid. I was so scared when I first got in the business. I remember going to VRMA for the first time, and I'm like, what am I doing here, dude? I'm like, these guys are all legends here, been in the game forever. And it's like, but once I started talking to people, they were totally cool. They were hosts. So they were like, hey, John, try this, try that. So I think you just got to find your tribe and start networking more. And the fact that you and I are even sitting here is a testament to that, right? It's like, I feel everyone's at these huge different levels. I'm like, I can't talk to him. He's on a whole other level. What are we going to talk about? But we're talking.
Snowboarding.
Yeah, snowboarding. Yeah, exactly. So I think it's like everyone starts from zero. And I think some tribes will look down at you for that. And it's not the right tribe. You got to find people that'll lift you up.
You bring up something super important. I was going to end, but I want to keep going because I think a lot
of course you do.
Yeah. It's that feeling of inferiority.
Yeah.
Right. And you may look at me that way because I have the big conference. I look at you that way. You've got 80x my Instagram followers. Right. But at the end of the day, we're just human beings that are, wearing Vans and want to, hoodies and hang out. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use an old school term. I hearken that back to middle school. And I don't know about you, but I was an athlete, but I was never the big man on campus. I was the nerdy, studious guy that played golf and stuff like that. And I'll never forget, I went to Thompson Junior High in Bakersfield, California. I went to my very first dance. And it's like you see in the movies, the girls are on that side, the boys are on this side. And now even as an adult, and I was the guy, I was so nervous I wouldn't talk to girls when I was young. Chris and I went to a Brendan Bouchard conference in San Diego in probably 2018 or 19. And I was the big man on campus in the ground transportation space.
Sick.
And we go to this conference, 2,000 people? And didn't know anybody. And I felt that same way I did when I was at that junior high dance. And I think we all have that feeling. Totally. We're afraid. We see these vanity metrics or whatever. It doesn't matter if I have 3,000 people at my conference or you got 80,000 Instagram followers and I have 10. Totally. We're all cut from the same cloth. Totally. And the one thing you said earlier, I believe 1,000% in this industry. I've been in so many industries in my life, 37 startups in 18 different industries.
Jesus.
And this is the one that I see has the most ridiculous community and support that I've ever seen. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. The support is absolutely insane.
The dude I'm seeing tomorrow morning is the ace of spades of that, right?
Sure.
It's unbelievable. But it's not just him. It's the people that are in our communities as well. So I would tell everybody out there, at least in my opinion, don't be afraid to reach out to John on Instagram. Don't be afraid to reach out to me or Mike Sjogren or Sean Raskovich or anybody, for help. And you said something that really resonates with me about the coaches and the noise and the messaging and all the stuff that's on social. I think you have to pick the person, maybe not be the system or what they're to pick the person that you resonate with and you think you are going to be with. Like we were talking about the lady that, was on my Move the Needle, wanted to join one of my mastermind programs and she didn't do it because of my mouth. And I would love to reply to her as a business owner and say, hey, I won't say fuck ever again if you join, but then I'm selling myself out. It's not really who I am. And I think that we all have the same inferiority complex. We all, there's some consistent things that we as human beings, I think we all underprice, we all undervalue ourselves. And I think we all look to other people and think they're better than us when they're really not.
Yeah, it is wild, man. We definitely do that, humans.
And I guess the best thing out of this, how long have we been going, Chris? 30, 45 minutes? Well, one, I think it's going to be the longest podcast I've ever had on Bill Faeth Unfiltered. But two, I'm excited to have gained a new friend today.
Same, dude. Same.
I appreciate you coming,
it was
John.
Super fun. Yeah, man, it was awesome. I'm glad you flew all the way to Scottsdale if just for me.
I'd be lying if I said it was just for you.
But I had to throw that in there.
Yeah, you and Pace.
Yeah.
You and Pace.
Pace, John. There we go.
You know what?
Yeah.
I don't know that it's like that, you know, if Pace walked in this door right now, he would probably say, John, I know exactly what he would say. John and Bill are up here and I'm right here. And,
yeah, I appreciate it, man. It's cool to sit down at this level and just like you said, it's cool just to get to know someone else that you respect in the industry on a different level. It's just you and I chatting. And it's like, how many times have we almost finished each other's sentence, almost doing some of the same shit? It's crazy to me. Yeah, it's cool.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. And for everybody out there, if you found any value in this podcast, which I hope you did, from advocacy to, you know, investing to hosting, all that type of stuff, make sure you hit the subscribe button and then follow John as well on Instagram. And I'll see you guys on the next episode of Bill Faeth Unfiltered.